Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks for joining us. This is a little different for us, but it seems like this would be the perfect platform for your app since most of my listeners are music fans. And personally, if I was doing a lot of dating, I would love to date people that have the same music interests as
Right.
I do. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that feel the same way about it. Before we get into the app, can you just give us a little background on yourself, like where you're from and how you got into this line of work?
Yeah, happy to. I'm just a big music fan myself, that wanted to create a solution for other music fans. I started listening to my parents' records when I was about 6 or 7, like folk, rock. And I just loved the sort of shared influences between music. I love sort of connecting the dots and seeing how different
Hmm.
genres were actually truly related. And then, sort of my music taste grew and I discovered other music. But it was when I was, I think, 15, I went to my first concert and I just saw like how powerful music was in connecting people and how, everybody felt sort of, more excited, more just happier being together, sharing in the music. So fast forward to 2016, my friends and family were out struggling on the traditional dating apps, and those same people were huge music fans like I was, and so I decided to create Vinely because there was not an app that matched entirely on music compatibility.
What was that first concert, by the way, that you went to?
My very first concert was Rush.
Rush. Wow. Are you more into the heavier hard rock
I
sounds or?
am so eclectic. I sound like our users. Our users are very eclectic too. But truly, I mean, I my number one favorite is Paul Simon. But I close second, Beastie Boys. I love a lot of, obviously a lot of music that's come out between, when I was younger and now, but you really do hold on to some of that music that you connected with when you were younger.
Did you work on any other dating apps or anything like this, or is this completely new for you?
It was completely new for me. I mean, I have, been in sort of consumer tech and been a marketer for my whole career. So, I sort of understood how a good experience, should work. But no, I was not technical at all. I had never built an app before.
Interesting. Now, is it true that studies show that traditional dating apps focus on looks? They're linked to like increased rates of depression, stress, anxiety, eating disorders, mental issues. Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, yes, it's sort of an unfortunate uh, outcome from having used dating apps like those. I think for a number of years now that users are not only just feeling fatigue from them, it's actually caused them some harm. In 2015, I think it was Vanity Fair, created the term like dating apocalypse after Tinder started.
Mm.
I think it's just, people go on there almost as an addiction and just are permanently like just swiping, right? And you don't get responses or you get ghosted or, you just see people on there that have sort of these inflated bios and unrealistic sort of expectations. So yeah, it's a real thing. And so what we always say is, you can download Vinally and still use those other apps. We're not ever suggesting like replace
Mhm.
them because people are on a bunch of apps anyway. But Vinally, we've tried to build us a completely different experience.
Yeah, I actually joined the site when
Oh,
I
cool.
found out about it because I was curious and I really liked answering all the questions. Um, I have not had any luck with dating apps, and I've tried Tinder and Bumble and a few others, but I've not really had much luck with it. Not that I've really put a lot of effort into it, but
Yeah.
I see what you're saying about it does come down to looks for a lot of people, and I think that's a problem. And with your app, I know there's a lot of people that want to be around someone that have the same interests as them. And music, I was looking at one of the things on that I received from you folks. OK Cupid uses responses to which would you prefer your ideal match to be more into: books, sports, music, movies. Music came out first. I
Yeah.
mean, and I believe that. I believe a lot of people are probably out there looking for similar matches. How did you come up with your list of different, like, favorite record, first concert? Did you come up with all this on your own, or did you do a lot of research? Or
Yeah, so you're speaking about, the questions that we ask when you sign up for Vinally to create your profile and to help match you. Yeah, so yes, I came up with questions that I thought were sort of good kind of conversation starters, right? That you would have maybe on a first date, when you're trying to learn more about someone, but also some that would maybe go, one or two clicks deeper. So you would understand if somebody was, not only a music fan, but like to go see concerts, right? Because what Violent tries to do is not just match you based on, I like this singer and you like this singer, so therefore, we're going to be matched. It's really more complicated than that. On how we match across like, influences of different genres, etc. But also too, you could have two music fans and one could, not want to see live music at all. One could just be an audiophile that wants to listen at their home. Or, you might find somebody who isn't open to they love their music so much they're not open to letting you, DJ on a road trip. So it's important to understand all of those things and how the role music plays in your life. And that's how we built Vinally.
when exactly did you roll the app out?
So the app launched in October 2016, excuse me, October 2019, I apologize, right before the pandemic. And so that was interesting because within our
Wow.
chat function, you have the ability to search, suggest, and actually buy concert tickets. And when concerts stopped, we were really worried, that maybe the
Mm.
app wouldn't have the same impact. But unfortunately or fortunately, during the pandemic, everybody was using dating apps because there was no way to meet anyone. And so we benefited from that time period.
And the title, Vinily, the name of the app. Are you a big vinyl fan yourself?
Yes, I mean, as I mentioned, like that was the my first, medium for listening to music. I love the resurgence of vinyl. To me,
Yeah.
I love everything nostalgic, so I love the imperfections in listening to vinyl. I love that you have to sort of focus and be there and turn the record over. I really like that. And then the name of the app is sort of a play on, finally, right? So it's like, and
Finally,
I can't
Vinily.
hear finally without saying finally in my mind, but the idea is like, finally, there's an app that makes sense for me.
So 2019, I'm surprised I hadn't heard about it until recently. Um, is there a lot of people using the app now?
Yes, there are a lot of people using the app. We have some stats that we've shared recently on our social media profiles, but we there's 1,600 dating apps, believe it or not,
Wow.
on the App Store. So it's a little bit tough sometimes to get through all of the noise, and most of them are, sort of the match group apps or Bumble. So for us, we've carved a good niche, I think, in terms of our category. Although I always say music is not a niche. It's actually something that's tied to someone's identity. Obviously, a huge industry. So it's not a niche, but I think people are starting to gravitate towards meeting people based on things that really matter, and we try to do that for music fans.
So give my listeners your pitch right now. So they want to join this app and they want to do it. How does it work?
Sure. So Vinally is free. It's available on the iOS and Google Play Store in the US and Canada. You can either sync your Spotify, or you can use our profile generator to create your profile. And then from there, we ask you a few questions about, your preferences. You can upload 3 photos. You choose, sort of your geographical radius, and then more questions about, the role music plays in your life. I mean, total time to get set up is a couple minutes. And then we produce matches for you, and we order them highest volume to lowest volume. And then when you see somebody that you are interested in, we have pushing play. We don't have swiping. So you push play, or you fast forward, or you shuffle, and then you can actually check out someone's complete playlist before you even send, any type of chat. The chat for us, we have some music conversation starters, but you can obviously use whatever you want. And then we created a new kind of fun feature where you can send someone a virtual drink recipe based on like 2 genres mixed together.
That's interesting. So you click the play button and then you see their entire profile.
Right.
What are some of those questions that you're asking the users?
Yeah, so we like to ask first concert, last concert, how often, do you go out to see live music? What is, a genre that you can't live without? Are you interested in something serious, or maybe you're just looking for concert buddies, those types of questions.
There's one thing I couldn't figure out about the app, and maybe you can explain it to me. Is there an in or out box on it where you can send, like I did send out some of those questions, but I didn't know where to, if they were being answered or not. How do you know if the question's being answered, and where do the answers go to?
Yeah, so whenever you send a chat message to someone on your queue view, there's like a little 9 dots on the top of the right, and you click on that. That's where all of the matches that you're talking to live. And so then you'll see, they're like their little circle of their profile, and then if there is a conversation going, you'll have a little notification. It will say 1, 2, 3, however many chat messages are there that are unread, and then you just go in and you respond. I mean, sometimes people don't respond always, or respond quickly, but the conversations that happen in Vinally are rich conversations. They're all about the music DNA, and so it's, I think, just a lovely alternative from
Yeah.
some of the other apps.
Yeah, I'm very geeky when it comes to music. Like I'll talk about the songs on side A and side B, and I like lists, like who's your favorite 10 albums of the 80s or
Yeah.
90s or whatever. I'm like, really, my whole life is, I've been in the music business my entire life. Did
Right.
you ever work in the business at all?
No, I mean, I just label myself a serial concert goer. And so speaking of lists, I keep a list of all of the concerts I've been to, and as well as I actually break out all the festivals I've been to, and then all of the bands or musicians I've seen. So it's well over 500. I actually publish it. It's just like in a Google doc, but I publish it, just because I love looking back and think, and I keep all of, when we used to get ticket stubs, I keep all of those. I have like a box over here of all of my, this is like all of my wristbands from concerts. So I
Wow.
I love sort of cataloging all of that. It makes me just happy to think about.
Yeah, because I worked for record companies for a long time, so I have laminates, so I show
Yes,
off all my laminates. I
yes.
wish I documented all of the concerts I went to. I remember the first concert I went to because you made me think of it when I joined the app, but there's been so many, and I can't remember them all now because
What was your first concert?
it was Jethro Tull.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I was 15 years old, I saw Jethro Tull. Jay Giles was the opening band.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, for Rush, it was this band called Mr. Big. I don't know if you
Oh
remember.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Billy Sheehan, Paul Gilbert. I see what I mean. I know guys that were in Mr. Big.
yeah,
Billy
yeah,
Sheehan was from Buffalo. He's a great bass player. They were one of those bands that didn't quite get over the hump. They almost did, but they
yeah.
didn't quite. Interesting. So you don't limit the genres in terms of your personal taste.
Oh
You said
no.
Paul Simon and the Beastie Boys. That's pretty extreme.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm all over the map. I love a lot of electronic music. Yeah, so I just like to go see, just really talented musicians. I had tickets to Madonna actually for tomorrow night. Of course, that's gotten postponed. But I have very few artists
Why
actually.
did it get postponed?
She is dealing with some medical issues, so she postponed all of her North American tour, and I believe it'll be rescheduled because I've never seen her. She's one of the few artists that's on sort of my bucket list that I haven't seen. So I'm really hoping that she's able to go tour.
You're on the West Coast?
Phoenix.
Phoenix. I lived in Phoenix for 18 months and
Oh, okay.
7th Avenue and McDowell.
Oh, that's such a booming area now. There's a lot of cool stuff there. I'm very close by, like Central and Camelback. So,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
actually liked
hot.
Phoenix. I didn't plan on being in Phoenix. I was living in LA and I was managing bands and I was living in Santa Monica in a very expensive condo, renting it, and I just couldn't afford it anymore. And I had a friend that had a guest house in Phoenix. And she said, you can come rent my guest house. I don't know
Yeah,
how you're going to like the desert. I actually did like it, but then I got homesick for Boston because I hadn't been there in years. So I moved back to Boston. But I do like Phoenix. I
yeah,
kind of wish I didn't leave. I feel like I left too early. Kind of wish I would have
yeah,
stayed there. The
yeah.
art scene downtown was really cool.
Yeah,
Cool
there's a
art
lot of
scene.
new venues. There's a lot of like, yeah, sort of art slash music venues actually. And it's hotter than the sun right now. However, I think a really great city. It's a good home base. You can get really easily to LA, to San Diego, to Las Vegas, all in a car ride.
I managed a band from Phoenix for a long time, the Love Me Nots.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, Nicole, the singer, is famous because she's also a judge. Not a lot of people knew that at first, but then the word got out. Now she's in the darts. They're actually in
Oh,
Europe touring. They've been
oh,
touring
cool.
Europe for a while. They've done really well, but she's a Phoenix person,
Oh,
definitely.
cool.
Um, so your bucket list. I have to ask you some questions about music.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
love it.
help
I love it.
myself. Who else is on that bucket list of yours? Like you said, you've been to 500
Yeah,
concerts,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
your first one was Rush and Mr. Big. So who else were some of the earlier shows that you went to?
Um, the Dead. I snuck out of the house to see the Dead, and I got grounded for the rest of the summer. So worth it though. It was Steve Miller opened up for the Dead back at RFK Stadium in DC, which
Is
is
that where you're from, DC?
yeah, originally, yeah. So
Nice.
so that was well worth it. I got grounded and I missed the U2 Achtung Baby tour that year. I wasn't allowed to go to that. But then I went to the second Lollapalooza.
I
So
was there. Yeah, that was the one with
92.
Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, right?
Yes, and they played
Yeah.
as Temple of the Dog for the
Yeah.
first time, and I went like every year after. Um,
Wait a
in
second. Did you go to that concert at Pacific Amphitheater in
no,
LA?
no. I went to it was called Charlestown, West Virginia. It was where they were having Lollapalooza.
Wow, Charlestown, West Virginia.
Yeah, just a random spot. But and then like I don't know if you remember the Tibetan Freedom Festival
Yes.
in DC. That was, I mean, that had so many different artists from so many different genres. The Beastie Boys played there. Uh, you know, I'd have to honestly, I mean, this is kind of the benefit of the list to like be able to go back and think about, who I saw. But the very few people left on my bucket list. I mean, I saw Genesis last year. Phil Collins was on my bucket list, and so I never got to see Tina Turner. Unfortunately, she would have been on there. But yeah, Madonna's kind of one of the only few still left.
Wow. I was hoping you were a real music fan, and I can tell you are. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're into punk at all or hardcore, but the DC scene, Minor Threat, Government Issue, and all that.
Ghazi. Yeah.
Fugazi, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Ian
Yes.
Ian MacKay from Minor Threat went to Fugazi. I worked with Dag Nasty, which was Brian Baker from Minor Threat's band after, and the DC hardcore scene was like one of the best. I
Yeah.
mean, it was LA, DC, and Boston had the best hardcore punk scenes. And I wasn't sure if you're familiar. So you're pretty much across the board.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not, I am a fan, right? So, I appreciate it and enjoy it. I'm not a musician myself, but I try to sort of, yeah, follow where people go to, what influences them. I'm a nerd as well. Like all of that stuff interests me. I could just talk about music all day long.
One other thing about the app that I wrote, I didn't ask you was, did you do most of your research on the app yourself? You have a partner, right?
Yes, I did most of the research on the app myself. It's my vision, sort of thinking through like what would I want, if I was a music fan looking to find other music fans. And then obviously I've taken a lot of user feedback since then. All of our updates have been based on user feedback. But yes, so my partner, I have a CTO, a Chief Technical Officer, and he is a former DJ producer of electronic music himself, and interestingly enough, worked in a lab that studied music cognition, so the effect of music on the brain. So it's
Wow.
just like this perfect, yeah, this sort of perfect marriage there. And yeah, it's us and a very scrappy team of developers, and that's it. And we're sort of out there going against these bigger apps with these massive teams and
Do you,
budgets.
do you have a wide range, age range on your app? Because I kind of noticed that I didn't, I put all ages down for,
Okay.
like, I haven't spent a lot of time on the app yet. So I don't want you to think I totally have done. I set up a
Fine.
page and I'm going to go back to it because I really find it interesting. I put casual down, because I'm
Yeah.
probably more looking for friends than I am anything
Yeah.
else on the app. Um, what was my question now that I was just going to ask that I totally forgot? Um, oh, the research part. So when you did your research part, how was there any way to distinguish the limitations of what kind of music you would have on there, or is there no limitation? Like, could classical music lovers go on this app too, as well as
Yeah.
punk kids?
Yeah, yes, yes. So we initially launched with Spotify, as our means for you to sync your music history, and then our algorithm would work off of that plus the questions we ask you. We've expanded that now, but initially we used sort of the top genres on Spotify. So not subgenre in terms of what you put on your profile, not subgenres. However, when it comes to matching, we also use the subgenres. And if you look at your profile, depending which, whether you use the Spotify sync or the email route, you can see all of the subgenres you listen to. So in a way, using the app too, it's like a little bit of like your own music discovery about yourself. And you can see all of these, maybe subgenres you didn't even know existed. But yeah, so sort of, thought about that. And then the algorithm, it's proprietary to us in the way that we sort of weight the different components of what you're providing, all of the data you're providing us, right? And there definitely is too, in terms of the way that we present artists to you, if you're using our email profile generator, are based around the way that science has proven sort of the music that you're attached to is related to also when you were born. It's not, a lot of us still love discovering new music all the time. But for most of us, the types of music that you're most connected to, that you want to find somebody who also shares in that, are from, when you're about roughly like, 13 all the way up to 20. That's sort of like the
Yeah,
sweet
yeah.
spot.
Not to exclude non-binary, would you say there are more females or males that have signed up for the app at this point, or is it
They're
equal?
very
Or
close. Yeah, in terms of just, those two genders, male, female, yes, very, very close, interestingly enough. And you had asked me about the ages. That was your question,
yes,
I think.
yeah.
That's what.
Sorry, I'm
It's
I'm
okay.
all over the place. I've
Yeah.
never done an interview. I'm used to saying so. On the first record, who was your engineer and who played
Right.
bass? So this is a little different for me.
I get it. Yeah, so we have a wide spread of ages because, yeah, music is really, listen, it's universal. It spans genders, spans, countries. It's just people share in it. And so we do have a decent span. I mean, most dating apps skew a little bit younger, maybe more
Hmm.
Gen Z, millennial. So we do have a lot of those users, but I think our app is approachable for users that are, maybe a little bit older because
Oh
there's such
yeah.
a nostalgia. When you think about people who are in, let's say 50s, 60s, 70s, the music from the time that I just talked about is like some of the best music, arguably.
Yeah, I love when I meet younger people that tell me that they love the 70s because,
Yeah.
I was very young in the 70s, but I remember it very well. And it was a great decade for music. It's
Mhm.
like, I'm not going to say music's gotten worse over the years, but it has. Uh, there's still a lot of great new music coming out, but yeah, I think that you should go visit the classic
Of
rock era,
course.
the blues era, even the early rock and roll, Buddy Holly, Elvis, whatnot. Um, this is really fascinating. I think it's fantastic that you're doing this. I love it. I got on it right away. I don't know, maybe I'll meet somebody on it.
Yeah.
Right now, I just happen to be kind of in the middle of it's complicated. Let's just say
Okay.
that, okay? But I mean, I did get on the app. I've looked at other apps before. Personally, I mean, I can understand how some people would want to go on Tinder and they want to do the hookup thing and all that. But that is a younger person thing, I think. I think I'm past that stage where I want to
Right.
go meet someone just to have sex with them in the bar. Not that I'm going to be make a big opposition to that. If that's what you want to do, fine, go and do it. But for someone that wants to get to know someone, learning about their musical interest to me
Yeah.
is a gold mine.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think so too. I mean, music has proven to, increase dopamine, reduce cortisol levels, make you feel good. And then actually there are a lot of, research studies out there when you share in that with someone, it's magnified. So I think it makes a lot of sense. We want to find somebody just to share in the thing that makes us happy. So I'm glad that you're on. Keep me posted. Let me know,
I
any
will.
feedback, and of course, if you meet someone, I would love to hear about it.
Yeah. Are you on the app yourself?
I am on the app because it's important that I'm on it. I test. I have a few different ways that I can test, but it's very important for me to be on the app. I am in a relationship, but just as sort of the CEO and founder, I like to make sure that everything's working and like see it from the user point of view.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I'm very fascinated, very happy. Finally, I love it. I love it.
Thank you for having me. I know you have a lot of like really amazing, musicians that are legends. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
It's totally my pleasure. Thanks,
Cool.
Rachel.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Bye.